Very happy, though, to have us live, all I think from California. It usually is there. Jessica Denson, activist, founder of the Removal Coalition, and host of Lights On with Jessica Denson on YouTube, which has a really big audience now. I saw over 200,000 subscribers. Congratulated on that, and that's all because of your activism. So, Jessica, nice to see you. Thanks so much for being on.
Good to see you too, my friend, especially at the holidays.
Exact holiday time. So, Jessica, what's your reaction to Donald Trump yelling at America for 18 minutes? Like, it really was a frantic, manic speech that was really a cry for, I think it's elder abuse at this point. But what is your take on it?
Dean, I suffered through that speech just for you, my friend. Just for you. I had not watched it. I had counted on the takes of the other people. I think I heard one true statement in that entire speech, which was the country cannot believe what's going on. That was the one true statement. Yes, this is a clearly identifiable state of psychosis that we are living through as a country with Donald Trump in the White House. We have not lost our minds. This is a man that put up plaques in the Rose Garden days ago, mocking his predecessors in the most obscene, deceitful, disgusting, dishonorable way. This is a man who is sending people to concentration camps in 2-foot-high cages as we speak, murdering people to the tune of, I think we're over 90 extrajudicial killings. Yep. The fact that we have to subject ourselves to this insanity and we don't have the adequate pushback from our lawmakers who could do something about this is obscene. Obscene.
It is obscene. And you know, you focus on impeachment of Donald Trump, which we'll talk about more. But how much do you think is it effective to talk about what is clearly a cognitive decline? I've had Dr. John Gartner on. You may have had him on your show From Duty to Warn. But how much is it, do you think, helpful to talk about what is undeniable, a level of cognitive decline? I mean, Dr. Gartner and some others use the term dementia. That's up to them to use it. I'm not a doctor. But there's something wrong, deeply wrong with the man. And I'm trying to get your sense, like, is that worthwhile to bring into the conversation as well?
I think it's an absolutely essential part of understanding what we're dealing with, because not only do you have one man who is the so-called president, I always make sure I identify him as illegal president of the United States, but you have an entire system, both with his advisors, his cabinet, and then the entire Republican Party, who are acting as though this man is okay and this is normal, when in fact, like you started off saying, this is elder abuse. This is a grand cycle of abuse where a man who has spent his whole life lying to himself, which would drive anyone insane, Dean. I mean, this is a man who cannot admit to the most minor errors and claims that he is some kind of godlike figure when he is one of the most sinful men to have ever walked this earth. And we have this whole system that is protecting him while he is abusing others. It is a serious, serious disease.
It is. And I want to play one clip. I played it earlier for people, but you'll hear the franticness and also the Trump, the snorting, you know, over and over. And, you know, many have brought up they knew people who were cocaine addicts in the past or cocaine users. That was something they would hear. I'm not sure if he's on cocaine or Adderall. He's on something. There's no doubt a man who's almost 80 who falls asleep at 3 p.m. at cabinet meetings is over the top at 9 o'clock. It's something. There were additives. And before his speech, I said that on the show. Watch him carefully. See if he slurs his words. See if he's over the top in terms of his energy. That tells you how much he's been injected. I don't play a lot of Trump's clips on the show, but we'll play one for just a point of reference. Here's clip number 1, please.
1 year ago, our country was dead. We were absolutely dead. Our country was ready to fail, totally failed. Now, we're the hottest country anywhere in the world. And that's said by every single leader that I've spoken to over the last 5 months. Next year, you will also see the results of the largest tax cuts in American history that were really accomplished.
If we stop there, that many times it goes on there. We're the hottest country in America. It's like a third world infomercial the guy's doing. Like next he's going to sell you like the Flowbee and cut your own hair at home. And, you know, this takes stains out. And this is the hottest thing in the world. That the idea that we were a crappy country a year ago, even though unemployment is was lower when it came in January. It was 4%. Now it's 4.6%. Everything's going the opposite direction. Lie after lie after lie. But there's something deeply wrong with him. And by the way, before you came on, I mentioned CNN. I'm not watching it. We're doing the show live. Had on their doctor who said he was very disturbed by what he saw from Trump. He said it was a manic behavior, and he's deeply concerned by it. And said, you add to the fact there's no transparency with this administration in terms of Trump's health. So this is an issue as well.
It is. And let's just claim our own sanity, Dean. Like, we have known this for years, right? This is not breaking news because of that speech last night. We just have a completely lopsided media landscape where they acted like a man, Joe Biden, who was a stutterer from childhood. When he misspoke one word, he must be, ready to throw in the towel. And this, we have a deranged lunatic con artist. By the way, that speech, two things he said at the top that he talks about a lot: mental institutions and career criminals. Mental institutions and career criminals, right? Every accusation is a confession from this man. We've got somebody who is seriously needs to be treated for his mental illness, and he is a career criminal, not to mention con artist, a narcissist, on and on and on. So yeah, it's a deep, destructive cycle of abuse.
It is. And it's interesting you mentioned he's a career criminal and all that. When's the last time you saw corporate media reference that he has 34 felony convictions, that for falsifying business records, for cheating the election, that the man attempted a coup, that he incited a terrorist attack, that he was adjudicated a rapist by a federal judge, or that he was adjudicated by a court in Colorado as an insurrectionist? That we don't see that at all. They have so normalized him over and over.
Yeah, and that's where you and I come in, right, my friend?
Exactly.
I mean, because we have to so outshine this lunacy and this insanity that we become the norm. And I think that's already happening with so-called mainstream media to a large extent. The other problem, though, is you have the whole nother category of so-called pro-democracy media that is defending the status quo from Democrats, which is another gripe of mine. But the more, and I'm sure we're going to get into this, the more that we shine a light on the truth and the actual action that can and should be taken now, our movement is just growing and growing, and people are, I think, turning to those better sources. As the more that we can amplify them, the better.
Very much so. I'm Jessica Denson, activist and founder of the Removal Coalition. So you came on right before the big event in D.C. Representative Al Green was there and others. I saw a video online, the Removal Coalition events in D.C. Share with people what happened. How did it go? What was the turnout like? And what's come of it since?
Yeah, we had an incredible event in DC called Remove the Regime. It was over 3 days from the 20th to the 22nd of November without any major buy-in from national organizations. Our grassroots coalition at the Removal Coalition put together an incredible lineup that was laser focused. Every single speaker, I made sure of this. There were no compromising here. Every single speaker, from veterans to pastors to January 6th survivors, Capitol Police officers, had one message for Congress: impeach, convict, remove. And I think when I was on your show last time, I was at the nighttime event for our first day. We had just come from a press conference where Representative Al Green, I asked him coming into this. I mean, I'm really kind of disgusted that I have to be depending on one member of Congress in a body of over 400 individuals who have sworn an oath to uphold and defend the Constitution. I have to keep going to one member of Congress because he's the only one willing to file and force a vote on articles of impeachment. But he has been a reliable, courageous, outstanding member of Congress. I went to him. I said, we're having this event, Congressman Green, can you commit to filing articles of impeachment in a very short time frame and forcing a vote? And he did that. He said, I will do it before Christmas. We had tens of thousands of people in the streets in D.C. peacefully demanding impeachment and removal. And last week, Congressman Green made good on that promise and filed new articles of impeachment against Trump.
He did, and I saw the articles about that, and I also saw your postings about it. Could you tell people how it's changed in terms of how many Democrats showed support and voted against tabling the articles this time as opposed to last time?
Massive progress, Dean. 77% surge in support for impeachment versus the last time he filed it was in June over the summer. He filed articles of impeachment about the illegal strike on Iran that had only 78 Democrats supporting him. 78 Democrats voting against the motion to table. This time, if you count the present votes, which leadership wanted their members to vote present instead of taking an actual position, but that is not a vote to table. If you count the present votes, it was up to 187. 78 to 187. That's the kind of progress and effect of this movement. That is the effect of our pressure campaign. And you probably hear it. You might not hear it as much as I do because I'm like a one note, podcast about impeachment and removal. But I hear that people say, oh, it's never going to happen. You don't have the numbers. First of all, it's not Congress's job to uphold their oath when they have the votes. It's to do it every single day. If we move the Democratic caucus, can you imagine if we get that 187 to the full caucus of how many Democrats do we have? 200 and a handful.
215. Yeah, it's like 5 less than the majority on the side. So yeah,
exactly. If we get that number, that caucus united by our public pressure campaign, which is already very effectively working, imagine how the conversation, the narrative shifts in this country. We had it was shameful last week. I was almost the only one reporting on this. You probably reported on it. Maybe we had a handful of other. Mainstream media ignored this conversation. Absolutely abysmal, shameful. But if the Democratic Party, every single member, is on board for this, can you imagine how the narrative will shift in this country? They will be forced to start talking about the remedy to all of the horrors of this administration. And then we can start working on the Republicans, and we will work on them. I promise you, we will work on them.
So to tell people, because last time the articles of impeachment focused on Iran, what was the focus of this one?
Here's the catch. Oh my God, this is unbelievable. So this was about Donald Trump's threats to execute members of Congress. And think about that. Al Green put his fellow colleagues in the House really in a spot here. Are you going to vote against literally a president who is threatening to execute you? And I'm going to name one member here, because one of them was Representative Jason Crow. He's one of those 6 Democrats that appeared in that video telling military members not to obey illegal orders. Jason Crow was one of 23 members that sided with MAGA Republicans to table these articles of impeachment. I mean, can you explain this to me, Dean? Did he
put a statement out? Did he put any kind of comment as to why he would do that?
Not that I have seen. He's continued to call out the unconstitutionality and illegality of this administration, and yet he voted against articles of impeachment that were literally about threatening to execute him.
I wonder what their thinking is. I mean, I've only had Congressman Crow on once a long time ago, so he's not someone that comes on regularly, or I would just ask the person, like, why did you vote that way? And so it was Trump calling for the execution of the members of Congress, Mark
and
Kelly,
threatening
Jason
federal
Crow,
judges,
Chris Deluzio, and others, that in the video when they were telling them just to obey your oath. That was simply it. It wasn't disobey legal orders. It was obey your oath and do not follow illegal orders, which is in the Constitution. And it's something Pete Hegseth apparently had said in the past, because now it came up. So I think it's interesting they didn't. Trump has done so much with corruption. Has Al Green tried any articles in terms of corruption? I mean, it's documented. His net worth of his family himself has gone up $2 to $3 billion since taking office in January. Things are for sale. I mean, Michael Cohen's talking to Michael Cohen the other day. He said he's getting paid for the pardons. There's no doubt in his mind. Now, you got to prove that part. But we know there's corruption going on.
Oh, it's sickening. I was just listening to a report before I came on with you, Dean, about the Trump media company and how, there's not even a pretense of complying with ethics laws or regulations this term. It was, and our friends at Free Speech for People, who have been major partners with us in our impeachment push, John Bonifaz, the president and constitutional scholar over there. Yeah. He actually drafted these articles for Al Green. Al Green came to John after making that commitment and said, these are the articles I want to draft. They have a list of 25, probably it's over 25 now, at Free Speech for People at their Impeach Trump Again, impeachtrumpagain.org. If you haven't signed it already, go sign it. Their petition, over 1 million signatures. I was there with them over the summer to deliver them to Congress. The first one, number one, I believe, is the emoluments violation, because it was out of the gate. Like you said, the corruption is off the wall. And any member, I would please, Dean, if you have any members of Congress on here and you are able to question them on impeachment, even if they supported it, ask them why they're not filing their own. Why are they not filing their own articles? Why are they not forcing a vote on their own articles? This man commits impeachable offenses every single day. For every illegal, unconstitutional, fascist, murderous action that he is trying to normalize, we need to normalize the remedy. We need to normalize impeachment and forcing these votes, because we've only had 2 in this administration. Imagine if we made this a daily or weekly thing, we would be moving those numbers higher and higher, faster and faster.
And I'm talking with Jessica Denson, activist, founder of the Removal Coalition. So as we look to 2026, because now we're already in the 2026 cycle. We've been for a while, but once we come back from the holidays, that's the complete focus. What do you hope to hear from Democrats running as we're trying to take the House back in November in regards to the issues that you work on? Like, do you want them to make this one of the priorities?
It is the qualification, as far as I'm concerned, for whether I would be in support of anybody running is, will you not just support impeachment, will you file, if they're running for the House, will you file impeachment articles on day one? And we had a number of candidates that joined us at Remove the Regime who are pro-impeachment candidates, who are committing to doing that very thing if they are elected. We also have a number of pro-impeachment Senate candidates. And just because senators can't file articles doesn't mean they're off the hook from talking about it, from normalizing this conversation. I personally, I will tell you, was just having this conversation with a friend of mine. I hate having the midterm conversation. I really do. Because it's as though we're acting like there is not the onus on the sitting members of Congress to do their friggin' jobs and what they were elected to do and defend this Constitution between elections. Okay, how much damage is going to be done? How many people are going to be murdered? How many people are going to be disappeared off our streets? How many people are going to lose their SNAP benefits and their health care and their livelihoods while we wait for a midterm election that Donald Trump is openly trying to rig in his favor, and then hope that our salvation is in that? You know, so for all of those reasons, I honestly loathe having the conversation about the midterms. I will talk about those candidates because they absolutely should be elevated, and they, to the extent that primary challengers are out there that are challenging incumbents who are not taking a stand, they should have as much exposure as we possibly can give them. But I am not for 1 second going to let up the gas on the sitting members of Congress and taking action before 2026.
Will you work at any primaries involving primary Democrats who are not supporting impeachment?
That's to be seen. Like I said, right now I am not somebody who plans for far in the future. I look at what's immediately in front of me. And
it's impeachment today, damn it.
I want impeachment today, damn it. Yes.
That's it. And look at another basis for impeachment clearly is the Venezuela, the strikes in international water. This is murder. And if anyone reads publications that are not the United States, or the corporate media in America is so timid and afraid of Trump, and the only thing they'll talk about Venezuela is they'll quote someone, but they won't reach any conclusions. You read BBC, you read The Guardian, you read other publications, they are using the term murder. Like the U.S. under Trump are murdering people in the open seas. There's no proof they've committed any crime. We have no idea what's in the boat. We know nothing. We're just killing them. We're even killing survivors. That is clearly a high crime and misdemeanor. There's no doubt about it. And I don't know why that, and maybe Al Green has talked about that one. I don't know. I haven't read all the articles on impeachment.
Well, last week was kind of impeachment.
Solid basis.
Absolutely, 100% it's murder. And last week was actually kind of impeachment palooza. We had a number of articles filed. So there was the Green articles. We also had articles filed against RFK Jr. by Representative Haley Stevens. And we had articles filed against Hegseth for murder and conspiracy to murder by Representative Shri Thanedar. Now, Shri Thanedar is a special case. He has been on my show before. He made a commitment directly on my show that he would invoke Rule 9 and force a vote. And then he got bullied out of doing that by Democratic leadership. And then he, several months later comes around and says, I'm going to file new articles of impeachment against Hegseth. And I had him on my show again to put him on the spot and say, okay, force the vote. And he, to be honest with you, did not give me a satisfying explanation, because it's all about his colleagues. It's all about their considerations and their concerns and all of their political strategizing nonsense. His constituents.
But he did file?
He filed. He filed, but
so he did file. So you pressured him.
Yes, he filed, but he did not force the vote. And this is what I want your audience to understand.
Okay. All right.
Any member of the minority or majority can file and force a vote within 24 hours of invoking Rule 9 on theirs or somebody else's articles of impeachment. Okay, so if anybody's coming out and looking to get a day of headlines or traction by filing articles of impeachment, say, okay, nice, thank you very much. Now where's your vote? We need votes on these things.
And it's a special rule that you're saying? That it's a special rule that you invoke that allows it to be a privileged motion, it forces 100%, the vote?
100%. It's called Rule 9. And it is a privilege afforded to that special right that representatives have to file impeachment articles. It's a privilege of the House.
That's good to know. So if Democrats wanted to file impeachment articles, they could force a vote all the time. And if look at the leadership, the problem is, we've talked about this forever, Jessica, the Democratic leadership for so long, with Schumer and Jeffries as well, the timidity of Democratic leaders is off the charts. And when you talk to Democratic members of Congress, often, even off the record, I'll say, why don't you do this? And their first answer is, well, Republicans are going to do this in response. I'm like, Republicans don't sit around and think about that. They don't give a crap. Oh, this is going to make Democrats upset. They don't care. They care about what's right, or they care about what's going to get their base animated, which is really important. And if there's not been impeachable offenses by Donald Trump, then we should strike the impeachment clause from the Constitution. Donald Trump is the living embodiment of an impeachable offenses. It's one after the other, from corruption to murder. We can go through a list of things that he has done. And I would say that the policy disagreements are not impeachable offenses. I think the SNAP benefits are awful. There are other ones that truly are. Now, people can argue all day. Impeachment is a political remedy. You can define high crime and misdemeanor any way you want. But I think I really appreciate that you laid it out for people that anyone can file the articles of impeachment. And Rule 9 of the House rules allows them to force a vote within 24 hours. That's what you're saying, right?
Within 48 hours. And they often call the vote the next day. And let me just say this one other thing, because this is the statement that leadership put out last week to try to get their members to vote present instead of voting in favor. They put out this statement about impeachments traditionally being a process where there's investigations and inquiries and all the. Do you think, Dean, that it's time for traditional approaches to handling the horrors that we're living through? For God's sakes, there is nothing that says that impeachment has to be traditional. There is also, as you mentioned, it's a political process. That means this is not a judicial process. We do not have to go through all the checks and balances or checks of a trial, of a criminal trial. The result here is not that someone's going to prison. The result is that they can't hold office or take an oath to the Constitution that they have proven themselves unfaithful to. Okay, so it's a much lower standard. It is a political trial, meaning that you can, like you said, you can define high crimes and misdemeanors. And taking out those policy disagreements, even at that, we have dozens laying before us waiting to be acted upon.
It's an excellent point. And at some point, the same Democratic leaders who led us to a situation where Republicans have the White House, the House, and the Senate will finally realize that their approach is not the right approach. But look, there are some Democrats who are great fighters, naturally, and others have been pushed into it by the base, by the work of your organization and others. I watched some of the video, the stream when you were doing your event, and I saw Michael Fanone, I believe I saw, is it Cliff Cash, the comedian?
Yep, Cliff Cash and my buddy, comedian buddy. We had Harry Dunn, John Pavlovich.
I saw Harry Dunn. Yeah, no, I saw you speaking, and I thought it was great. I'm like, this is what you need. What's next? And then the last minute here, what's next for the removal coalition?
What's next is we are going to continue remove the regime, and the exact date and the exact form I don't have for you today, but you can expect something big in the near future. In the meantime, what we are asking everybody to do is harness the mandate of what we did in Washington, D.C. Harness that mandate. That is a mandate for removal. Take that pressure peacefully, unrelentingly to your members of Congress, and do not let up. Do not let up. They should be filing and forcing a vote on their own articles of impeachment now.
And if, Jessica, people want to find out more information about the organization, where can they go?
Removalcoalition.org, removetheregime.com, thejessicadenson.com. Thank you.
Thank you, Jessica. Happy holidays. Merry Christmas. I look for Happy New Year. I look
Merry
forward
Christmas.
In the New Year's, we continue this fight. Doing a great job. Thanks, my friend.
Merry Christmas, my friend. Thank you.